Hey everybody, it's Angela Molson352, and at the store the other day I picked up this jar jewelry, and I don't know offhand who the manufacturer is, but they're these toppers that you put on your mason jars to turn them into like pincushions. And I wanted to put them on a wide mouth jar, but it didn't really fit. It looks like from what I did here, it's made for a small mouth. But I actually want to put my sewing supplies in there, and I have a favorite pair of scissors that I want to use. And when I went to put my supplies in, I found out that the scissors just weren't going to fit in a small mouth jar. As you can see there, it's just, nope, not happening. So I went back to the wide mouth, and I figured I could make this work because all my stuff fit in there just fine. And what I'm going to do is kind of like glue it down and kind of squish it a little bit so it covers up. And I actually like the side profile of it better on the wide mouth jar. It was a little too poofy on the small mouth. So now I'm just trying to decide how I'm going to put this on there. And those are my supplies I'm going to keep in there. So I decide to use some hot glue, and I'm just trying to figure out now which top I want to use. This is going down to the farm, so I will have some extra sewing supplies handy, and I wanted it to kind of, match into a more country feeling. So it turns out to be kind of shabby chic, but not too much. So I tried this ribbon, but it was a little too stiff of a ribbon, so I wound up doing something a little different. So I used some hot glue and put it on there, and then I put a little more to see kind of to make it smash all the way over to the edge. And then I thought, you know what, hot glue on metal, it's gonna pop off at some point. So just to make sure it stays, I put a little bit of E6000 around, not very much, just enough that along with the hot glue, that pincushion's not going to pop off later. So I just slowly worked around the side and just kind of kept pressing it down and making it kind of cover the whole lid. And it's going pretty well. The lid heats up pretty hot there when you put the hot glue on it, so be careful of that. But otherwise that works pretty well, although it doesn't quite cover it once I put the ring on there, and it doesn't look very even. See, it's kind of, it looks okay, but in order to tart it up, I wanted to put a little bit of a ribbon around there, but that one just wasn't going to work. And afterwards I thought about, I should have used like half of a zipper or something, and some of those zipper flowers. That would be cute on a sewing kit jar. But I did something different here. So there, I'm just trying to get it to smash out. And even though I've smashed it down quite a bit, there's still plenty of space for a pin or needle to stick in there. So it doesn't hurt the pincushion aspect of it, because this is going to be used. I didn't put a lot of embellishments on the jar because I'm going to be getting into this a lot, sewing on buttons and mending tears and stuff like that. So I went off to my stash, I think, to look for some flowers and some trim to go on this. So I'm looking through my laces, and I want to find one that'll kind of blend with that kind of burlappy color of the pincushion. And I really like that one. That's one I got from Olga. Hi Olga, thank you. And so I decided to go with it. I look at this other one, but it was just a little bit too dark, so I went with this instead. And at first I was thinking I would put it so the ruffle would go down. So I'm looking at that, and then I decided that I kind of like this, where the ruffle's kind of sticking up. So I go ahead with that, and I put a little dab of glue on there. And I'm going to glue this all the way around. The only thing I kind of learned on this was you should leave a little bit of a gap. Don't fill up the entire lid, because there has to be a little bit of space for the ring for it to seat all the way up properly in the ring. So just be careful when you put your trim around there. And my camera cut off, so I just finished putting that on there, and I put a flower where the seam was. I only had that one flower because it was from a kit, so I'll use some other flowers to go around it. I wanted to put some seam binding on there, but all I had was white, so I grabbed some Tattered Angels. I'm not sure which color of pink this is. Can I see? I think it might be cherry. I don't know, I got it at a garage sale. And so I just put a little bit of color on it because I still want it to have kind of that vintage kind of left out in the sun for a long time. And also that ribbon was wrapped around a card, so you know how it gets those sharp creases from the card. When you scrunch it like that and wet it down, it really gets rid of those creases. So here's a card of fibers. This was one I got at Tuesday Morning a while ago for 99 cents. And I just wanted one more type of fiber or texture on that bow, but nothing huge. So I just chose that really thin soft fiber, and now I'm just tying it in a bow around the jar. Like I said, I'm not going to go embellishment heavy on this because it's utilitarian, but that doesn't mean that it can't be pretty. So, oh, and these are my new Klein wire cutters. My husband saw my old wire cutters and they were all nicked on the blade, and he said if they're good ones they should never get nicked. So he got me those Klein ones. He said I could cut anything with those and it'd be fine. So I have these little dress forms that I got from Saw at Saw Crafters. Hi Saw, thank you. And I decided to put one of those, and I'm just going to hang it kind of off the ribbon. And so I chose an acrylic kind of off-white color to paint it with, and I'm just going to cover that real quick. And I love these little dress forms, and I like that it's made out of MDF wood because it's sturdy enough that I can put it on the ribbon and it can hang there, and it's pretty sturdy. I don't think it's going to break unless you were to you'd have to kind of crush it with your hand. It does have kind of a narrow stand, but it's pretty sturdy. And so I just paint a first coat on that. And then I started looking through more. Oh, well, no, I'm going to glue the flowers on. So I found a few more of these small flowers that were in my stash that kind of fit with that really light off-white and pink theme. And I'm just putting a few of those up on the lid area, and then I'm going to put a few down on the bow. So I'm just gluing that on. Cut a few more off with my super awesome wire cutters. And then, yeah. There we go. I pulled out I have some metal scissor charms from Saw as well, and I just wanted it to fit in with the kind of vintage shabby look I was going for on this project. And so I also just coated it with the acrylic paint. And that's one thing that's nice about shabby chic style is that, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not supposed to be perfect. So you can just paint and paint away, and if it's not perfect, it looks even better. So I just put a second coat on this MDF dress form. And another coat on these scissors. And I didn't want to dry these, but because it was really hot in my craft room, it must have been, I don't know, close to 90 degrees up there because there's no air in that room. So it didn't actually take very long for me to dry these. So anyhow, I'm lifting my sheet up off of my craft mat just so that I don't warp my craft mat with the hot air. And so I get both of those painted. I found a little wooden clothespin that I just kind of clipped on the lace there. And now I decide I want to put a flower down on this dress form. So I put that one on there just to give a little extra decoration. And then I kind of wanted to see where, when the jar was closed, where the flowers wound up. And then, so I could kind of decorate the bow near that. And I stick one of the flowers on the bow, and then I'm just going to use a tiny bit of hot glue to hot glue that to just the ribbon part, so it just kind of dangles down on the ribbon. And then I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put this other flower that I want to put on there. Thinking about putting it on the dress form as well, or maybe another one up on the bow, and I'm not sure, so just kind of thinking about it, and I figure out, let's see, where am I going to put the scissors? And I think about putting them in that top cluster, which would be really cute. But I want to make it easy to grip that jar lid and open it. So I decide to take the flower off the dress form and stick the scissors kind of at an angle on there, and then put the flower back on. So I just thought that looked really cute. And so I'm still trying to figure out exactly where I want those flowers. So I put that one on. And I really like that. You know, it's subtle, but it's pretty, and it, you know, stays with the theme. It's not over the top. And so I'm really liking that, and it's still easy to open the jar lid. And I just grabbed a few pins. I think I went and looked for a few more out of my stash. I got a safety pin. And, you know, eventually this will get filled up with needles that have thread in it and all kinds of stuff. But for right now, it looks really pretty with a few stick pins in it from my stash. And there I'm just holding it up to give a couple close-ups. I don't know where that love pin came. I've had that for a while in my stash. I'm thinking it might be Girls Paperie, but I'm not sure. And that gives me plenty of places to put extra needles and stuff. And like I said, they stick in there just fine, even though that pincushion is a little flatter than probably it was first meant to be. And there's the ribbon with just the dress form kind of connected to that, and the scissors and flowers and kind of the vintage looking bow and seam binding. And I just put some different threads in there, a bag of buttons, there's a thimble, little sewing kit, tape measure, seam ripper, and then a whole thing of needles and the pair of scissors that I wanted. And there's that big thing of needles right there. And I'll probably go through and grab some colors of thread that I use a lot, you know, a dark one, a couple light ones, and some things that match the color of Carhartt shirts. That's the color thread I need the most. So anyhow, that is my project, and thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below. Talk to you later. Bye.